Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to the WC podcast, where we explore workforce development issues in Southern Nevada. Today, we have a very special guest. We have the chair of the Workforce Connections Board, Jerrie Merritt from Bank of Nevada. Jerrie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So we're happy to have you here. As you know, I think the staff, the whole organization is happy that you've transitioned now into the role of chair. You're to provide leadership over the next 2 years and hopefully more. Tell us what you think about this idea of starting a podcast so we can tell our stories.
I think starting a podcast was an excellent idea. And I know you're probably going to tell me it was your idea, right?
No, it was Jack Martin's, actually.
Okay. Taking advice from Jack sometimes could be difficult, but this time I think he was right on it, because it is so important that we're able to share information about workforce, to be able to educate not only our community, but the businesses and the workforce in general about workforce. So this is an excellent idea. And of course, having more than one individual share the information about workforce in a setting like this is going to be good.
Yeah, and Jerrie, right now, of course, I'm the host of the first few episodes because I'm interviewing all of the board members and the LEO Consortium members, but then we are opening up to any board member or LEO that wants to host their own episode, bring somebody else from outside of our organization. We welcome that. You talked about businesses. Tell us, you're here on the Workforce Connections Board representing Bank of Nevada, the banking industry really, as a whole. Why is it important for banks and other businesses to have a voice on the local workforce development board?
I think the key word is business, okay? Businesses in general do what? They have employees, right? And businesses need qualified employees. And workforce is all about making sure that businesses in our community have qualified employees, and that qualified employees have an opportunity to have some place to work. So the voice in general, as far as business is concerned, is so important, not only to the board, but also to the community. I can't think of a business that would not like to have the opportunity to have a voice about what happens with their employees, or have the opportunity to be able to share with an organization what they need within their business.
Well said, Jerrie. And I think you mentioned businesses, and WIOA calls upon businesses to be a part of the board and for the board to be business-led, but also wants those businesses to send representatives that have optimum policy-making authority for their organizations, optimal hiring authority, but they also want them to bring resources to the system, which it could be connections in their industry, introductions. It can bring resources that they provide as well that can serve our participants. And it also can mean cash and resources. I know that you have set a great example with Bank of Nevada. You've been very kind with bringing flexible money to our organization to help us do our work. Why is it important that more organizations do that? And again, I'm not talking just about cash, because not everybody can bring cash, but to bring resources to help us do better work. Why is that important in your opinion?
In order for the organization to be successful, resources are very important. And these resources, as you said, can range anywhere from cash to information, to knowledge actually in general. So if these businesses in our community are going to be requiring help from our organization to get qualified employees, I think they need to be at the table. The businesses in general are at the table, through the board. But through these board members, they can actually bring resources from the businesses actually to workforce. Cash, that's different. Okay, I have been part of the Workforce Board for a few years before I had an opportunity to learn more about the inside working of the organization as I chaired the Finance Committee. And being part of the finance committee enabled me to see the ins and outs of how important it was to be able to bring these type of resources to the organization.
Jerrie, and I remember that first day when you became the chair of our finance and budget committee. It seems like so long ago, but I do remember that there was even one time we set a record for the shortest meeting ever in the budget committee. I remember also the days where it seemed, now it seems more normal, but I remember the first time you chaired a meeting where we were receiving our very first squeaky clean audit that for a governmental agency with millions of transactions is not very common. But now we've gotten the fifth one in a row, and I know it's become more of a norm. Tell us about what your transition has been going from, again, you joined our board, you were a member for a while, then you became the chair of the finance committee, and now the chair of the board. What has that journey been like for you?
Well, as I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, I had the opportunity to, I should say, pull back the covers, and actually take a look. Because as a board member, you hear about the finances and you have a full knowledge of the finances within the organization. But once you have an opportunity to chair the committee, you actually get to hear and see what the actual workings of the finances mean. Like you said a few minutes ago, when we had our first board meeting, I was like, man, this is the shortest committee meeting that I've ever been part of. But if you remember, that was the only time that happened. Because right after that, the committee was very involved in actually getting to understand what all the line items were within the finance committee. I would say, Jaime, that chairing the finance committee actually prepared me for the role that I'm in now, actually as chair, because I truly feel that I had the opportunity not only to understand why we had the funding, what the funding needed to actually go to, and how helpful these funds were, for our partners in the community.
Well, we all feel blessed, Jerrie, and thankful that you dedicate the time to be a part of our organization, that you chaired our finance and budget committee and now our board. I also know you set aside the time to travel with us when we ask you to, including the annual conference in D.C. for NOB, the National Association of Workforce Boards. You've been with us several times there. What would you say to a board member that has not yet attended that event? What could they gain from setting aside the time to join us in that annual trip to Washington, D.C.?
Jaime, I've always felt that it was very rewarding, not only to me personally, but to me professionally, to be able to sit actually on the workforce board, and to be able to not only represent my business, but to give back to the community. But when I had the first opportunity to actually go to Washington, D.C. and be part of the NOB conference, I realized how important it was, not only for myself, but for anyone that was involved, with Workforce Connections to attend this conference, because you not only got to partner with the many other organizations that do exactly what we do, the same type of work that we do throughout the United States, but you also got to share ideas. You got to exchange ideas, and you really received the opportunity to be able to know what workforce was all about. Being able to get the information and do the work here in our community is important, but I feel like actually going to one of those conferences kind of give you the shot in the arm. It really helps you become the board member that gets the information that you can bring back and do the work here.
And so next time we open that up, Jerrie, for the members, I'll hopefully you can share with them what you just shared now, and more of them will join us on that trip so they can, again, listen to best practices from across the nation, meet their peers, and get activated, as you said. The last question I want to ask you about is something that we worked really hard on because we're trying to build a more relevant connection to the business community. As you know, our system has two customers, the job seeker and the employer that hires that job seeker. And so that's why our mission is connecting employers to a ready workforce. And so we opened a few months ago the Employee MV Business Hubs, which is our one-stops for employers. We haven't had that here in Southern Nevada, and the nation hasn't seen one inside the Chamber of Commerce. So first of a nation to have one at the Vegas Chamber and another one at the Sahara West Library. I know you've seen those locations. Again, we've put them there because we believe that the employers really need a place that's focused on them, with staff that's focused on them. Tell us what your thoughts are about the Employee MV Business Hubs and the role that they can have as our economy recovers and we help small businesses recover and thrive again.
It was very innovative, I should say, to start both of these one-stop sessions for businesses and also for employees that are actually looking for work. I think the key there is the one stop that is in a very professional setting, whether it be at the Chamber of Commerce or whether it be at the Sahara Library. There are all of the tools that an employer will need to make the connection. And there are also the tools there for one that is actually looking for work to be able to do it. I think it is probably one of the most, you notice I said one, because we've had many opportunities to do many innovative things within the last 2 years, but I think it is probably one of the most innovative programs that we've actually put together. And then we've been very fortunate to have community partners such as the Chamber and the library to actually house us so that there would be a one-stop opportunity both for the employer and for the job seeker.
And Jerrie, now we're looking into how to, since we can't open one-stops everywhere, we're looking into a way to use technology to make sure that businesses at the Urban Chamber, at the Latin Chamber, at the Asian Chamber can also access these hubs from there. And so we know that those chambers host businesses in their locations, and small businesses feel comfortable going to their chamber. And so we're working with Peter and Ken and Sunny to find a way to install technology in those chambers so they can connect also to these existing hubs and benefit from the resources without having to travel. So we'll keep you updated on that.
Okay.
So Jerrie, we've reached the end of our podcast. Again, you know that the staff loves you, appreciates you, having you as our leader, and we look forward to the many more things that we'll accomplish together. I'd like to give you the mic back so you can say a few final words to our audience.
Well, I would say that I am grateful. Leadership is one of those things in life that, and of course, if you work with me a little while, you know that I will say, if you are a leader and no one's following you, you're just going for a walk. So to be given the opportunity to be a leader at Workforce is probably one of my greatest achievements in the last few years professionally. So I am so excited about being part of Workforce Connections, working with a great team, Jaime, such as you and the rest of the staff, so that we can be able to bring the not only resources and the tools that are needed to the businesses and to those that are actually seeking employment. So I'm just happy to be here.
Well, we're happy you're here also, Jerrie. Thank you for stopping by today.
You're welcome.
So that's it for today's episode of the WC Podcast. Please join us at a future one. And until next time, stay safe. Okay, Jerrie, so thank you for staying with us to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. We're going to start with your favorites. Are you ready?
Yes.
Tell me your favorite place to shop.
Dillard's.
Favorite article of clothing.
Dress.
Your favorite dessert.
Chocolate cake.
Favorite movie.
Fried green tomatoes.
Good one. Your favorite car.
Of course, it's a Mercedes,
A red one.
a red one.
What's your favorite holiday?
Christmas,
And your favorite way to relax?
sleep.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, we're going to go to the second segment called Tough Choices. Would you rather be rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
Do you like coffee or tea?
Coffee. And I take it black.
Very good. Would you rather be embarrassed or be afraid?
Embarrassed.
Cooking or be cooked for?
Oh, cooking for sure.
Great car or great house?
Great house.
Camping or glamping?
Camping.
Red wine or white wine?
White wine.
All right, we're rounding the corner to our final segment called Finish the Sentence. So I'll give you a few unfinished sentences and you will finish them for me. You ready?
Yes.
Here's the first one. Not many people know Jerry likes to.
Travel.
Jerry's perfect weekend is.
Cleaning her own house.
Jerry spends most of her free time.
Sleeping.
The one thing Jerry brings with her everywhere she goes is.
Something red.
And doing the WC podcast today was.
Exciting.
Great, Jerry. Thank you for coming.